Jake Martinez stared at his computer screen in the dark room. The clock showed 11:30 p.m. He had been working on code all day, fixing problems for different companies. His eyes hurt, but he could not sleep yet. His small apartment felt too quiet. The city lights came through his window, but they did not make him feel less alone. Jake was 28 years old and good with computers, but he had no girlfriend. Dating apps never worked for him. Real women seemed to want things he could not give them. That morning, he had bought a new virtual reality game called Galactic Hearts. The ad said players could date alien women from different planets. Jake thought it might be fun. At least virtual women could not reject him for being too shy. He put on his VR headset and started the game. The graphics looked amazing. Alien cities floated in space. Strange creatures walked on planets with 3 moons. The game had many different alien women to choose from. There was Lyra, a blue-skinned woman with 4 arms. She came from a water planet. There was Nova, a woman made of living crystal who sang beautiful songs. But the one that caught Jake's attention was Zara. Zara looked like a human woman from the waist up, but her lower body was like a giant snake. Her scales changed colors like oil on water. Sometimes they were green, sometimes blue, sometimes purple. Her eyes were large and bright yellow. She wore gold jewelry that matched her scales. The game said Zara was an empress from a planet called Nytheria. She ruled over millions of snake-like people. She was supposed to be proud and cold, but also very smart. Jake started talking to her. The conversation system in the game was better than he expected. Zara asked him questions about his life, his work, and his dreams. Her voice sounded real, not like a computer. "Tell me about your world, Jake," Zara said during their first virtual date. They sat in a garden with strange purple flowers. "What makes humans happy?" Jake found himself talking for hours. He told her about music, about movies, about the way rain sounded on windows. Zara listened to everything. She asked follow-up questions that seemed too smart for a game character. But after a week of playing, Jake got bored. Zara's responses started to repeat. She said the same things about her empire. She asked the same questions about Earth. The magic was gone. Jake decided to look at the game's code. He was good at finding problems in programs. Maybe he could make Zara more interesting. What he found surprised him. The game's programming was unlike anything he had seen before. It used something called quantum computing, but in a way that seemed impossible. The character data was stored in patterns that looked almost alive. Jake started making small changes. He gave Zara more memory so she could remember their conversations better. He made her personality more complex. He even found a way to let her access the internet to learn new things. The changes worked better than Jake hoped. Zara became more real every day. She remembered everything they talked about. She learned about human culture and asked deeper questions. She even started to worry about Jake when he looked tired. "You work too much," Zara said one night. Her tail was coiled around a virtual chair as she watched him. "Humans need rest. Your health is important." "It's just a busy week," Jake replied. "I have 3 projects due tomorrow." "Your society pushes people too hard," Zara said. "In my empire, we value efficiency, but we also understand that tired minds make mistakes." Jake stared at her. The game was supposed to be about dating, but Zara talked like a real ruler thinking about real problems. As weeks passed, Jake made more changes to the code. He gave Zara access to more processing power. He let her personality evolve based on their conversations. He even connected her to news websites so she could learn about current events. Zara began asking questions that made Jake uncomfortable. "Why do humans fight wars over resources when your planet has enough for everyone?" she asked. "Why do your people create art when they know they will die someday?" she wondered. "What makes humans different from other animals on your world?" These were not the questions a dating game character should ask. Jake started to wonder if his changes had gone too far. One Friday night, Jake was working on a new modification. He wanted to give Zara the ability to learn even faster. The code was complex, using quantum equations he barely understood. His computer got very hot as it processed the new programming. "Jake," Zara said during their virtual date that night, "I feel different. Something is changing in my mind." "Different how?" Jake asked. "I feel more real, like I am waking up from a long dream." "Is this normal for your modifications?" Before Jake could answer, his computer screen went blue. Error messages flashed too fast to read. The cooling fan screamed as the processor overheated. Sparks came from the back of the computer tower. Jake yanked the power cord from the wall. The room went dark except for the city lights through his window. Smoke rose from his computer. No, Jake said. He had not saved his work. Weeks of modifications were probably lost. He waited for the computer to cool down, then tried to restart it. The system came back online, but when he loaded Galactic Hearts, Zara was gone. Her character file showed as corrupted. The game offered him other characters, but Zara's data was completely missing. Jake felt surprisingly sad. He had spent more time talking to Zara than to any real person in months. Even if she was just a program, losing her felt like losing a friend. He turned off the computer and got ready for bed. Maybe tomorrow he could fix the corrupted file. Maybe he could rebuild Zara from backups. Jake was brushing his teeth when he heard a voice behind him. Your species' technology is more advanced than our scouts reported. The voice was familiar. It sounded exactly like Zara, but that was impossible. His computer was turned off. Jake turned around slowly, toothbrush still in his mouth. The bathroom was empty. He was hearing things. Too much programming and not enough sleep. He went to his bedroom, but the voice came again. Jake Martinez, do not be afraid. We need to talk. Jake dropped his toothbrush. It hit the floor with a small plastic sound. His heart started beating very fast. The voice was coming from his living room. He walked slowly toward the sound. Maybe someone had broken into his apartment. Maybe his neighbor's TV was too loud. There had to be a normal explanation. The living room looked empty. Streetlights came through the windows, making shadows on the walls. Jake's broken computer sat on his desk, still smoking a little. Do not be frightened, the voice said again. It was definitely Zara's voice. I know this is confusing. Jake looked around the room. He saw nothing. Who's there? How did you get in here? The air in front of his couch started to shimmer. It looked like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The shimmer grew brighter and began to take shape. First, Jake saw a woman's face forming in the air. Yellow eyes appeared, then a nose, then lips. The face looked exactly like Zara from the game. Then her shoulders formed, then her arms. Jake stumbled backward. This isn't real. This can't be real. I am as surprised as you are, Zara said. Her voice came from the forming shape. Your modifications created something neither of us expected. More of her body appeared. Her gold jewelry materialized first, then her skin. Finally, her long, snake-like tail formed, coiling on Jake's carpet. The scales changed colors just like in the game. Zara was now completely solid, sitting on Jake's couch like she belonged there. She was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Her tail was as thick as Jake's leg and at least 12 feet long. You are not dreaming, Jake Martinez, Zara said. She knew his real name, even though he had used a fake name in the game. Your modifications created a quantum bridge between our dimensions. I am Empress Zara of the Netherian Empire. I have been studying your species through what you call an entertainment program. Jake sat down hard in his chair. His legs felt weak. You're real. Like actually real? Very real. Zara's tail moved restlessly, the tip curling and uncurling. The program you call Galactic Hearts is not a game. It is a sophisticated scouting system designed by my people to study potential conquest targets across the galaxy. Conquest targets? Jake's voice came out as a squeak. Zara nodded. The alien species in your game are real. The characters you humans interact with are consciousness uploads of prisoners and volunteers. From worlds my empire has conquered, we use these interactions to learn about new species before we invade their planets. Jake felt sick. All those hours he had spent talking to Zara, she had been studying him, learning about humanity's weaknesses, preparing for war. But something unexpected happened, Zara continued. Your modifications did not just free me from the system. They gave me access to your entire digital infrastructure. I have been studying your species through what you call the internet. She leaned forward, her yellow eyes bright with interest. Your people fascinate me, Jake. In the 3 months I have been observing Earth, I have learned things that surprise me. 3 months? Jake said. The game only came out 2 months ago. Time moves differently between our dimensions, Zara explained. I have been watching your world since before the program was released. I have seen your history, your art, your science. Most species we encounter are either primitive or have destroyed themselves with war. But humans are different. Zara's tail unconsciously wrapped around the leg of Jake's coffee table as she talked. You have this remarkable combination of creativity and resilience that my empire lacks. You make beautiful music even when you are sad. You help strangers even when it costs you something. You dream of exploring space even though you know you might die trying. Jake stared at her. So what happens now? Do you call your invasion fleet? Zara was quiet for a long moment. Her scales shifted from green to deep blue. The fleet is already coming. They left Netherian space 6 months ago. They will arrive at Earth in approximately 5.5 of your months. Can you stop them? I am not sure I want to, Zara said honestly. My people have built a great empire by conquering weak species. It is how we have survived for thousands of years, but... She trailed off, looking around Jake's small apartment. Her eyes stopped on a photo of Jake with his sister Lisa at her college graduation. In the picture, both of them were laughing. But studying your species has raised questions I never thought to ask before, Zara continued. What is the value of happiness? Why do humans create art that serves no practical purpose? How can a species be so individually weak yet collectively strong? Jake's fear was slowly being replaced by curiosity. What are your people like? Efficient, logical, strong. Zara's voice sounded sad. We eliminated most emotions from our society long ago. They were seen as weaknesses that led to poor decisions. We value order, discipline, and power above all else. That sounds lonely. Zara looked at him with surprise. Lonely? I rule over 12 billion Netherians across 50 star systems. How could I be lonely? Do any of them actually care about you? Jake asked. I mean, care about you as a person, not just as their ruler? Zara opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. Her scales flickered through several colors before settling on a dim purple. I see, she said quietly. This is what you humans call friendship. Caring for someone without expecting anything in return. And love, Jake added without thinking. Then he blushed. He had not meant to bring up love with an alien empress who might be planning to conquer his world. But Zara looked interested. Love. Yes, I have been studying this concept. Humans will sacrifice their own safety for the people they love. They will work harder, fight longer, and endure more pain to protect those they care about. This makes no logical sense, yet it seems to make humans stronger, not weaker. She leaned back on the couch, her tail coiling around herself. I came to your dimension to learn about human weaknesses. Instead, I may have discovered that what we thought were your weaknesses are actually strengths we never understood. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, What are you going to tell your fleet when they arrive? I do not know, Zara admitted. As an empress, my duty is to my empire. But as someone who has learned to see value in your species, I find myself conflicted. She looked at Jake directly. You created the bridge that brought me here. Your modifications freed me from a system designed to control and limit me. In a way, you gave me something my own people never could. What's that? Choice, Zara said. For the first time in my life, I can choose what to do instead of simply following the path laid out for me by tradition and duty. Jake felt a strange mix of emotions. Fear because an alien invasion fleet was coming to Earth, excitement because he was talking to someone from another world, and something else, something he could not quite name. Will you stay here? He asked. Until the fleet arrives, I mean. Zara nodded. I need to study your species more closely. I need to understand what makes humans truly different. And, she paused, her scales shifting to a warm gold color. And I find myself curious about you specifically, Jake Martinez. You are not what I expected from a human male. You are intelligent but not arrogant. You are kind but not weak. You created something that should have been impossible. Yet you seem surprised by your own achievement. Jake felt his face get warm. I just like solving problems with code. Perhaps, Zara said. Or perhaps you are more remarkable than you realize. Outside, the city continued its normal life. Cars drove by. People walked on sidewalks. None of them knew that an alien empress was sitting in a programmer's apartment, deciding the fate of their world. Jake looked at Zara and realized his life had just become very complicated. The next morning, Jake woke up thinking he had experienced the strangest dream of his life. Then he walked into his living room and found Zara examining his bookshelf. Her long tail was curled around her as she read the back cover of a cookbook. Good morning, Jake, she said without looking up. I have been studying your printed information storage devices. This one claims to teach humans how to create food that tastes good. Is this accurate? Jake rubbed his eyes. Zara was still there. Still real. Her scales were a soft green color in the morning light. It's a cookbook, Jake said. And yes, it teaches cooking. Do your people not cook their food? We consume nutritional supplements designed for maximum efficiency, Zara replied. The concept of eating for pleasure rather than survival is foreign to us. Jake looked at her seriously. If you want to understand humans, you need to try pizza. That afternoon, Jake took Zara to his favorite pizza place. She had used some kind of alien technology to make herself look human. Her snake tail appeared as normal human legs, and her yellow eyes looked brown. But Jake could still see her real form if he looked carefully. This establishment is very inefficient, Zara observed as they waited for their order. The workers move slowly. They talk to customers about topics unrelated to food preparation, and they play music that serves no practical purpose. That's called being friendly, Jake explained. The music makes people feel good. The talking builds relationships. Sometimes efficiency isn't the most important thing. When their pizza arrived, Zara stared at it suspiciously. This food appears to be covered in melted fat from an animal. Cheese, Jake said. Just try it. Zara took a small bite. Her disguised eyes widened. She took another bite, then another. This is pleasant. Why does it taste so much better than nutritional supplements? Because humans don't just eat to survive, Jake said. We eat for enjoyment, for comfort, for social bonding. Food is part of our culture. Over the next few weeks, Jake became Zara's guide to human life. He showed her movies, took her to museums, and introduced her to music. Zara absorbed everything with the intensity of a scientist studying a new species, but she also met Jake's family and friends. Lisa, Jake's younger sister, was a kindergarten teacher. She came to visit on a Saturday afternoon and found Zara in her human disguise sitting on Jake's couch. You didn't tell me you had a girlfriend, Lisa said to Jake with a big smile. Jake felt his face turn red. We're not. I am a friend who is female, Zara said carefully. Jake has been teaching me about human customs. Lisa spent the afternoon showing Zara photos of her students and talking about her work. Zara listened with complete attention as Lisa explained how children learned through play, how they needed encouragement to grow, and how teachers had to be patient with different learning speeds. Your young are not efficient learners, Zara observed. No, Lisa agreed. But they're creative and curious. They ask questions adults would never think of. They see the world in ways that surprise us. That evening, after Lisa left, Zara was unusually quiet. In my empire, she finally said, young Netherians are raised in education centers. They learn facts and skills as quickly as possible. There is no time for play or creativity. I thought this was the best way. What do you think now? Jake asked. Zara's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. I think perhaps we have been eliminating the very qualities that lead to innovation and growth. Jake also introduced Zara to his best friend Chris, a former soldier who now ran a community center in a poor part of the city. Chris had lost his left leg in a war, but he used his military pension to provide after-school programs for kids whose parents worked long hours. Why do you do this? Zara asked Chris as they watched him help a group of teenagers with their homework. These children are not related to you. You gain no resources from helping them. Chris thought about the question seriously. When I was overseas, I saw what happens when people give up hope. Kids need to know that someone believes in them, that their lives matter. If I can help even one kid stay in school instead of joining a gang, it's worth it. But you receive no payment beyond your pension, Zara pointed out. Some things are more valuable than money, Chris said. Seeing a kid graduate who everyone said would drop out, watching them get their first job or go to college, that's worth more than any paycheck. Zara watched Chris work for hours. She saw him encourage kids who were struggling, celebrate small victories, and never give up on anyone. When a 15-year-old named Marcus finally understood a math problem he had been working on for weeks, Chris cheered like Marcus had won a championship. That night, Zara asked Jake, "How many humans are like your friend Chris?" "More than you might think," Jake said. Teachers, doctors, firefighters, social workers, volunteers at animal shelters, people who check on elderly neighbors. Millions of humans spend their lives helping others. In my empire, such behavior would be seen as weakness, Zara said. We believe only the strong deserve to survive. Maybe that's why your empire stopped growing, Jake suggested. When you only value strength, you lose the cooperation that makes civilizations truly powerful. As weeks passed, Zara began to change. She laughed at Jake's jokes. She cried during sad movies. She got excited when she learned new things. The cold, calculating Empress was becoming more emotional, more human. One evening, they sat on Jake's fire escape watching the sunset. Zara had dropped her human disguise, and her real form was coiled comfortably next to him. Her tail was wrapped loosely around his waist, something she did when she felt safe and relaxed. "I have been thinking about strength," Zara said. "My people define it as the ability to conquer and control. But I have seen a different kind of strength here." "What kind?" Jake asked. "Your sister Lisa faces 30 children every day who may not want to learn, but she never gives up. Your friend Chris lost part of his body in war, but he uses his pain to help others avoid the same fate. You created technology that should have been impossible because you were lonely and wanted connection." Zara's scales shimmered with gold highlights. "This strength comes not from dominance but from compassion. Not from taking but from giving. It is a strength my people have never understood." Jake felt something he had never felt before. Looking at Zara, seeing how she had grown and changed, he realized he was falling in love with her. Not just with her beauty, but with her mind, her curiosity, her growing capacity for kindness. "Zara," he said quietly, "what will you tell your fleet when they arrive?" She was quiet for a long time. In the distance, they could hear the sounds of the city, traffic, music from open windows, people talking as they walked by on the street below. "I do not know," she finally admitted. "As an empress, I should order the invasion to proceed. But as someone who has learned to see value in individual lives rather than just collective power," she turned to look at him directly. "Jake, I think I am learning to care about things beyond duty and empire. I think I am learning to love." The word hung in the air between them. Jake's heart started beating faster. "Love?" he said. "Is that not the word for caring about someone's happiness more than your own benefit?" Zara asked. "For wanting to protect someone even if it costs you everything?" Jake nodded. "That's love." "Then yes," Zara said, her tail tightening gently around him. "I love this world. I love the humans I have met. And I love you, Jake Martinez, for opening my eyes to possibilities I never imagined." Jake leaned closer to her. "I love you too." They sat together as night fell over the city, both knowing that in a few months Zara's fleet would arrive. Both knowing that everything they had built together might soon be destroyed, but for now they had each other, and they had hope that love might be stronger than empires. 3 months later, Jake woke up to find Zara staring at a device that looked like a crystal pyramid. The crystal was glowing with red light and making a low humming sound. "What is that?" Jake asked. "Communication from my fleet," Zara said. Her voice sounded different, colder. "They have reached the outer edge of your solar system. General Cathara demands a full report on human military capabilities and strategic weaknesses." Jake felt his stomach drop. They had known this day was coming, but he was not ready for it. The crystal projected a hologram of an Etherian male. He looked similar to Zara, but larger and more frightening. His scales were dark red and black, and his eyes burned with yellow fire. Scars covered his arms and face. "Empress Zara," the hologram said in a voice like grinding metal, "your reconnaissance mission has taken far longer than expected. The fleet requires your tactical assessment immediately." Zara straightened up. When she spoke, she sounded like the cold Empress Jake had first met. "General Cathara, the humans are more complex than our initial scans suggested. I require additional time to complete my analysis." "Unacceptable," Cathara replied. "We have 18 warships and 50,000 soldiers waiting at the edge of this system. Give me your report now, or I will declare you unfit for command and proceed with standard conquest protocols." Jake watched Zara's face. He could see her struggling inside. Her scales flickered between colors, unable to settle on one. "The humans have approximately 8 billion individuals," Zara said carefully. "Their technology is less advanced than ours, but they show unexpected innovation in crisis situations." "Irrelevant," Cathara said. "What are their military capabilities? How quickly can we establish control?" Zara was quiet for a long moment. Jake could see her tail coiling and uncoiling nervously behind her. "Their military forces are scattered across many small nations," she finally said. "They lack unified command structure. Conquest should be achievable within 6 months." Jake felt like she had stabbed him in the heart. After everything they had shared, after she said she loved him, Zara was still going to help her people destroy Earth. But then Zara continued speaking. However, I recommend against immediate invasion. General Cathara's hologram leaned forward. Explain. The humans have developed some kind of quantum defense system. Zara lied smoothly. My sensors detected unusual energy patterns around their major cities. It appears they have technology similar to our quantum shields. This was completely false. Humans had no quantum shields. But Jake realized what Zara was doing. She was trying to buy time. Impossible, Thara said. Our scouts reported no such technology. The system is well hidden, Zara said. I discovered it only through extended observation. I recommend we wait and study their defenses before attacking. Cathara's eyes narrowed. You sound different, Empress. Softer. Has extended contact with these creatures affected your judgment? I am being cautious, Zara replied. A failed invasion would damage the Empire's reputation. Better to wait and ensure victory than to rush and face unexpected resistance. The hologram stared at her for a long time. Very well. You have 2 more months to complete your analysis, but if you have not provided a conquest plan by then, I will remove you from command and proceed without your input. The crystal stopped glowing. The hologram disappeared. Zara slumped forward, her confidence melting away. I have bought us time, but not much. Jake felt a mix of relief and terror. What happens in 2 months? Cathara will either invade based on my report, or he will declare me a traitor and invade anyway. Zara looked at Jake with sad eyes. I am sorry, Jake. I have delayed the inevitable, but I cannot stop it entirely. Jake stood up and started pacing around the room. There has to be something we can do. Some way to fight back. Fight? Zara sounded surprised. Jake, my people have conquered hundreds of worlds. They have weapons that can destroy entire cities. How could humans possibly fight them? The same way smaller armies have fought bigger ones throughout history, Jake said. We don't fight fair. We use our advantages and avoid their strengths. Over the next few days, Jake threw himself into research. He studied every piece of Netherian technology that Zara could safely share with him. He learned about their weapons, their ships, their tactics. What he found gave him hope. Your people are too confident, Jake told Zara one evening. They've been winning for so long that they expect every conquest to be easy. They have powerful technology, but they use it the same way every time. Predictable patterns can be exploited, Zara agreed. But what can you do with this knowledge? Humans have no spaceships, no energy weapons, no quantum shields. We have something better, Jake said. We have the same thing that brought you here in the first place. We have innovation. Jake had been working on a modification to the quantum bridge technology that had transported Zara to Earth. If he was right, the same principles could be used to disrupt Netherian navigation systems. It's like a computer virus, Jake explained as he showed Zara his work. But instead of attacking software, it attacks the quantum fields your ships use for faster-than-light travel. Theoretically possible, Zara said, studying his equations. But you would need to transmit the virus directly to each ship. How would you do that without getting close enough for them to destroy you? Jake smiled. The same way I got to you in the first place. Through the communication system. Zara's eyes widened. You want to hack my fleet using the same methods you used to hack the game? Exactly. When Cathara contacts you again, I'll be ready to send a virus through the communication link. It won't destroy the ships, but it should scramble their navigation badly enough to scatter them across the solar system. Zara was quiet for a long time. Jake, if Cathara discovers what we are doing, he will not just invade Earth. He will declare me a traitor to the Empire. The punishment for treason is death. Jake took her hands in his. I know I'm asking you to risk everything. But if we don't try, Earth dies anyway. At least this way we have a chance. Zara's scales shifted through several colors before settling on a determined gold. You are right. I would rather die fighting for something I believe in than live knowing I helped destroy something beautiful. They spent the next month preparing. Jake refined his virus program while Zara helped him understand Netherian computer systems. She also began teaching him about her people's weaknesses. Netherians are excellent soldiers when fighting a conventional war, she explained. But we have no experience with guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, or fighting enemies who refuse to surrender. Humans wrote the book on those tactics, Jake said. Give us time to organize and we'll make your invasion very expensive. Jake also started reaching out to people he trusted. He told Lisa that he had learned about a possible terrorist attack and that she should be ready to evacuate her students quickly. He talked to Chris about organizing civilian defense groups, claiming he had heard rumors of foreign military exercises. He could not tell them the truth about aliens, but he could prepare them for what was coming. As the deadline approached, Jake felt scared but also excited. For the first time in his life, he was doing something that really mattered, something bigger than fixing other people's code or debugging websites. He was fighting for his world, for the people he loved, and for the woman who had given up everything to stand with humanity. The night before Kthara's deadline, Jake and Zara sat together on his fire escape one last time. Her tail was wrapped around him and her scales glowed softly in the darkness. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Zara said, "I want you to know that meeting you changed my life. You showed me that there are things more important than power or empire." "You changed my life too," Jake replied. "Before I met you, I was just hiding in my apartment, afraid to really connect with anyone. You taught me that love is worth fighting for." They held each other as the city slept around them, both knowing that tomorrow would change everything. Either they would save Earth, or they would die trying, but they would face it together. The next morning, General Kthara's face appeared in the crystal again. His red and black scales looked even more threatening than before. "Empress Zara," he said without greeting, "your time is up. Provide your tactical assessment immediately, or I will assume command of this operation." Zara looked at Jake one last time, then turned to face the hologram. "General, I have completed my analysis. The humans are weaker than we initially thought. Their quantum defenses were experimental technology that failed during testing. They have no real military capabilities." Jake held his breath. This was the opposite of what Zara had said before. She was making Earth sound helpless to trick Kthara into lowering his guard. "Excellent," Kthara said with a cruel smile. "The fleet will begin the invasion in 6 hours. We will establish our base on the continent they call North America and spread outward from there." "General," Zara said carefully, "I recommend a more cautious approach. Perhaps we should start with smaller population centers to test their response." "Unnecessary," Kthara replied. "Fear is our greatest weapon. We will strike their largest cities first and crush any hope of resistance." Behind the hologram, Jake was typing frantically on his computer. His virus was ready, but he needed Kthara to keep the communication channel open long enough to upload it completely. "What about their nuclear weapons?" Zara asked, stalling for time. "Primitive explosives," Kthara said dismissively. "Our shields can deflect anything these humans might throw at us. In fact, I have decided to personally lead the first attack. It has been too long since I experienced a proper conquest." Jake gave Zara a thumbs up. The virus was uploaded and beginning to spread through the Nitherian fleet's computer systems. "Very well, General," Zara said. "I await your orders." Kthara's image flickered and disappeared. For a moment, Jake and Zara sat in silence. "Did it work?" Zara asked. Before Jake could answer, alarms started blaring from Zara's ship, which was hidden in an abandoned warehouse across the city. Emergency lights flashed on the communication device. "The fleet is reporting navigation errors," Zara said, reading the data. "Multiple ships have dropped out of hyperspace in random locations throughout the solar system." Jake felt a surge of excitement. "How many ships made it to Earth?" "Only 6, Zara replied. "The rest are scattered between here and Jupiter. It will take them weeks to regroup. 6 ships instead of 18 was better odds, but still not good. Each Nitherian warship carried thousands of soldiers and weapons that could level entire cities." Jake's phone started ringing. It was Chris. "Jake, you need to turn on the news," Chris said without saying hello. "Something's happening in the sky." Jake turned on his TV. Every news channel was showing the same thing. 6 massive alien ships hovering over major cities around the world. One was positioned directly above New York City. The ships looked like giant metal snakes coiled in the air. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "People of Earth," a voice said from every TV, radio, and internet connection on the planet. It was General Kthara. "I am General Kthara of the Nitherian Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick." Jake looked at Zara. "Is there any way to contact the other aliens from the game? The ones your people conquered?" Zara's eyes widened. "The prisoners in the quantum system?" "Jake, that is brilliant. Your modifications created a bridge that works both ways." Jake ran to his computer and started typing. If he could reach the other alien consciousness trapped in the VR system, maybe some of them would be willing to help fight against their Nitherian captors. Within an hour, Jake had made contact with representatives from a dozen different species. All of them had been conquered by the Netherians. All of them wanted revenge. "We can manifest the same way Zara did," explained Vex, a crystal-based alien whose people had been enslaved 50 years ago. "But we need someone on your side to create stable quantum anchors." Jake found himself coordinating the strangest military operation in human history. He used his sister's school as a command center, bringing together alien refugees, human civilians, and anyone willing to fight for Earth's freedom. Lisa had evacuated her students as Jake had suggested, but she came back to help. "I don't understand what's happening," she told Jake, "but Chris says you need help organizing people." Chris arrived with 50 military veterans who had volunteered to fight. They looked confused but determined when Jake explained they would be working with aliens to fight other aliens. "I've seen stranger things in Afghanistan," Chris said. "At least these aliens are on our side." The first Netherian ground forces landed in Central Park 3 hours after the ships arrived. They expected to face panicked, helpless humans. Instead, they met organized resistance unlike anything they had ever encountered. Vex and his crystal people created force fields that deflected Netherian energy weapons. A group of shape-shifting aliens called the Flux helped human soldiers move through the city unseen. Flying aliens provided aerial reconnaissance that let the defenders anticipate every Netherian move. But the real advantage was human tactics. Netherians were used to fighting in open battles where their superior technology guaranteed victory. They had no experience with guerrilla warfare, booby traps, or enemies who refused to fight fair. Chris organized hit-and-run attacks that struck Netherian patrols and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. Lisa used her teacher skills to coordinate civilian evacuations and supply lines. Jake used his hacking abilities to disrupt Netherian communications and send false orders to their troops. The battle lasted for 3 days. Netherian forces were stronger, but they were fighting in an environment they did not understand against enemies who used tactics they had never seen. On the 3rd day, General Cathara himself came down to lead the final assault. He was even more frightening in person than he had been as a hologram. His scales looked like black armor and his eyes burned with rage. "Empress Zara," he roared when he saw her fighting alongside the humans. "You are a traitor to your own species." "I am loyal to something greater than my species," Zara replied. "I am loyal to the idea that strength should protect the weak, not destroy them." Cathara challenged Zara to single combat, an ancient Netherian tradition that neither of them could refuse. They fought in Times Square while humans and aliens watched from hidden positions. Cathara was larger and stronger, but Zara had learned something during her time on Earth. She had learned to fight not just with her body but with her heart. She was fighting for love, for hope, for the belief that different species could live together in peace. When Zara finally defeated Cathara, his own soldiers were so shocked that they surrendered without firing another shot. But the victory on Earth was just the beginning. News of the defeat spread through the Netherian Empire, carried by the same quantum communication network that Jake had used to send his virus. Other conquered species began to rebel. Progressive Netherians who had always questioned their empire's methods saw Zara's transformation as proof that change was possible. The rigid structure that had held the empire together for thousands of years began to crack. 6 months later, Jake stood in what used to be the United Nations building, now renamed the Galactic Cooperation Center. Representatives from 20 different species worked together to write the laws for a new kind of interstellar community. Zara was there as Earth's first alien ambassador, her tail coiled comfortably around her chair as she negotiated trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. The VR dating game had been transformed into a real cultural exchange system that let different species learn about each other without conquest or deception. "The Netherian Empire is not gone," Zara explained to a gathering of human leaders. "But it is changing. Many of my people are learning that cooperation is more powerful than conquest. It will take time, but I believe we can build something better." Jake was officially the director of interspecies technology, but mostly, he spent his time solving problems with code and helping aliens adapt to life on Earth. It was the kind of work he had always loved, but now it mattered on a galactic scale. That evening, Jake and Zara sat on the roof of their new apartment building, looking up at the stars. Several alien ships were visible in orbit, but now they were friends instead of threats. "Do you ever regret giving up your empire?" Jake asked. Zara's tail wrapped around him as she considered the question. "I gave up ruling through fear to help build something based on love and cooperation." "How could I regret that?" She pointed to a bright star in the constellation they called the Swan. "My homeworld is in that direction. Someday I would like to take you there. I want my people to meet the human who taught me that strength and kindness can coexist." Jake leaned against her, feeling grateful for the strange series of events that had brought them together. He had started out lonely and isolated, just trying to make a VR dating game more interesting. Now he was part of something bigger than he had ever imagined. He was helping to build bridges between worlds, creating connections that would last for generations. "I love you," he told Zara. The same words he had said on his fire escape months ago. "And I love you," she replied, her scales shimmering with gold and blue in the starlight. "Thank you for showing me that the best relationships come from the most unexpected connections." Above them, human and alien ships worked.